She really hated him more than anyone else. Ellen Corby was born Ellen Hanson Corby on June 3, 1911, in the small town of Ryan, Wisconsin. She grew up miles away from the bright lights of Hollywood, which would one day define her legacy. She grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and knew early on that the stage and screen spoke to her in a deep way. She was more than just skilled. She had a sharp mind, was sensitive, and was quietly passionate. Things about her that became her trademark on camera. She didn't start acting right away after high school. To get into Hollywood, she used a back door. In the early 1930s, she worked as a copy girl and continuity clerk. What those long hours in front of the camera did, she got something that most artists never do: a deep understanding of how movies really worked. She learned how to read a scene like a crafter and how to feel it like an artist. The way you watch, the speed, and the act all worked together to make something magical. But all that time spent watching made her want to come out of the shadows even more. Ellen finally started getting small parts in movies around the middle of the 1930s. Many of them were unnamed, but they were hard to miss. She made an impact with her small frame, sharp eyes, and clear voice that lasted much longer than her screen time. The movie business quickly found out that Ellen Corby wasn't the type to steal scenes. They were changed by her. Always there, always on time, and quietly attractive. Directors liked her as a character actor, and people remembered her even when they didn't know her name. Ellen was in many famous Hollywood movies over the years, including It's a Wonderful Life 1946, Little Women 1949, Shane 1953, and Sabrina 1954. There are many more on this list. Even in small roles, she was able to show strong emotions with the tiniest of movements, which made an unforgettable impact on audiences. In 1948, she made a big splash when she played on Trina in I Remember Mama. She won a Golden Globe and was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her honest and emotional performance. This made her one of the most respected supporting actors of her time. But, even though she was growing, Ellen never wanted fame just for the sake of fame. She was happy to serve the story and make every role she played seem real. Ellen became well known on TV in the 1950s and 1960s, when she was in popular shows like The Twilight Zone, Bonanza, The Andy Griffith Show, Perry Mason, and The Beverly Hillbillies. She had a huge vocal range. She was naturally charming, whether she was playing a strict mother, a weird aunt, or a kind, quiet neighbor. Her movies always made people wonder what kind of character she would play next. Each time she showed up, she had her usual mix of warmth, wit, and soft power. People in the audience may not have always known her name, but they knew her right away because she was there, and it felt natural, comfortable, and real. But it wasn't until 1972 that Ellen Corby played Grandma Esther Walton on the popular TV show The Waltons. This part would become the most famous of her career. The show was set during the hard times of the Great Depression and followed the ups and downs of a close-knit Virginia family. In the heart of it all was Ellen, whose role as the head of the family struck a chord with viewers. She brought a mix of strength, kindness, and quiet humor to her role as Grandma Walton, making her the emotional center of the whole family. Her on-screen relationship with Will Geer, who played Grandpa Walton, made them one of the most real and emotional old couples on TV. 3 Emmys were given to her for her work on the show, which solidified her place in TV history. But bad things happened in 1976 when her speech was severely affected by a stroke that left her partly paralyzed. A lot of people thought her career had ended all of a sudden. Ellen, on the other hand, was never one to give up. She fought her way through rehab with amazing resolve and eventually went back to living with the Walton family, weaving her real-life recovery into Grandma Walton's story. It wasn't just a show when she came back. It showed how brave she was and how much she cared about her job. Viewers were moved to tears when she came back on screen, not just because they loved her as a character, but also because Ellen was a strong woman whose character made her famous. Ellen Corby was a private, kind, and highly spiritual woman when she wasn't acting. She liked living a quiet life in California, away from the press and made friends with many of her co-workers that would last a lifetime. Her fame never made her less humble or less friendly. People who worked with her often said she was a guide, someone who helped them, and someone who made them feel better on set. The cast and team of the Waltons thought highly of her, not only because she was talented, but also because she was always wise and kind. During the long run of the show, Ellen kept working well into her later years by appearing in special shows and other TV projects. Even after she stopped acting, she still had a big impact, because she never gave up on her work, was strong when things got hard, and lived by timeless values like family, love, and persistence. In Hollywood, she was a figure of beauty and strength. Ellen Hansen married Francis Corby in 1934. He was a film director and cinematographer 20 years her older and had been working in Hollywood for a short time. Ellen was still making her way in the business, working hard as a script supervisor and aspiring actor. This union put her in touch with someone who had already done a lot of work in the movie business. Francis Corby, who was known for being very good at technical aspects of being behind the camera, gave Ellen new creative ideas and job chances, which helped her learn more about the craft. Even though they were different ages, at first they seemed to be a good match for each other, with his experience and her young ambitions working well together. Ellen often gave credit to Francis with pushing her to follow her own artistic interests. His deep knowledge of film gave her a unique look into how stories, cinematography, and direction work, which sparked her growing interest in the field. Their house turned into a lively spot where artists, directors, and writers could get together, an open space for creativity where Ellen could let her dreams of becoming an actor and screenwriter grow. But as the years went by, their marriage started to show signs of wear and tear. There was a quiet gap between them because of how fast-paced Hollywood is and how their goals were always changing. Ellen was becoming more and more independent, making a name for herself in a male-dominated field. But Francis had his own priorities because he was already successful and focused on his work. In 1944, after 10 years of marriage, they split up. Even though they didn't have any children, Ellen looked back on that time with thought rather than sorrow because she saw it as a turning point in her life. It changed how she thought about relationships, personal growth, and the sacrifices people often have to make to follow their artistic dreams. The end of her marriage was the beginning of a new time of learning about herself and being free. Ellen met Stella Lucetta 10 years later. In 1954, this meeting would have a huge impact on her personal life. Stella, a kind, caring, and faithful woman, came into Ellen's life at a time when she needed a close friend, and an emotional link was more important to her than fame or glamour. It gave her the stability and understanding she had been looking for a long time. Their friendship grew easily because they respected and cared about each other. Ellen and her partner became lifelong friends over time, and they were there for her through the ups and downs of her personal life and her Hollywood job. Stella turned into more than just a friend. She was Ellen's rock, giving her strength, support, and unwavering love all the time. With each other, they made a quiet, private world away from the spotlight of fame. Their home was full of laughter, shared hobbies, and simple pleasures. Stella was always there for Ellen when she was playing Grandma Esther Walton on the Waltons, even when she had to work long hours and do a lot of shooting. How emotionally charged the part was. When Ellen had a major stroke in 1976, Stella took care of her and fought for her rights, helping her get better and getting her back on the show. This is a powerful example of how much they loved each other. Due to the strict social climate of the time, they never went into specifics about their relationship in public. However, it was very close and marked by lifelong commitment. Ellen Corby was known for being kind, professional, and having a warm, caring spirit on set. Her coworkers were like family to her, especially when she was on the Waltons and played the beloved Grandma Esther Walton with honesty and heart. Behind the scenes, though, Ellen's close friends and family said that not all of her professional ties were great. There was one interesting thing about that hinted at tension and showed that even Ellen, who is known for being kind and admired, had to deal with problems in Hollywood just like everyone else. It looks like Ellen Corby had a strong but quiet dislike for Richard Thomas, the actor who played John Boy Walton. Over time, their tension is said to have grown. Even though they kept a polite relationship on set, Ellen's feelings were much deeper than most people thought. She once said, "I never had patience for arrogance." It was impossible for her to ignore the fact that Richard had that air of youth about him that makes people dislike him. When the Waltons first came out in 1972, they met for the first time.